Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. It has been a week. I know I feel like I say that at the end of every week, but I challenge anyone out there to contradict me that it has not been a hell of a week with a lot going on and a lot into it here. And, of course, we're really going to get into it today because if you haven't been tuning in much, you might not know that Friday is the day when we don't exactly, we still got policies and rules and the swearing if you're calling in, but this is the day when we kind of relax a little bit and get into all the subjects that are out there because we keep it otherwise borderland-centric during the week, how things impact us here. But on Fridays, we open it up with Free for All Fridays, meaning we are taking your comments and calls throughout the show. We'll take on any subject, but you better keep it clean, particularly if you're calling in there. Don't want to have to dump you, and I will. I promise I will. But if you want to call in, the phone lines are going to be open for both hours of the show. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Already got some interesting pound 250 calls coming in as well, so we will absolutely get into all of that. We have had another very interesting week. Just everything that has come out of it. A couple of things I want to broach here. The whole, Ukraine situation that has very much been in the background. I found it hard to turn away at a lot of times, but we got to keep doing what we do on this program. The only thing I really want to say about that right now is as it continues to progress, as all of the impacts we are likely to see from it keep happening, all I can say is that much has been printed, much has been said about the apparent or perceived incompetence of many of the units of the Russian army that are moving through there. And all I can say is that, as we have Calvin Williams joining us over on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Good afternoon to you as well. All I can say is that this has literally happened before. Little surprise it's happening in the 21st century, but there is literally historic precedent for this. Back in 1940 into 1941, in the midst of World War II was technically on, but and it's very easy to take a long view of it that it all was always going to turn out the way it was, but in the midst of it, it was incredibly uncertain. Among other things, there was a very strong possibility that the Allies, as it came to be, could have been going to war with each other. Because among other things, you may remember that Germany and Russia subdividing up Poland, the Russians saying, we're just coming in to keep the peace, surprisingly reminiscent. But more specifically, they invaded a country that happened to previously be a part of their empire territory, their imperial territory before the Russian Revolution and such. In this case, it was Finland. And Finland, they were saying, we are here to liberate the people. We are here to get them under, at that point, the bourgeoisie oppression, that whole phrasing, because Soviet Union at that time, so stay with me. The parallels still do abound because they were there to reconquer and recapture the territory, literally the conflict out of which Molotov cocktails come from, which, again, the parallels there abound. But more specifically, this conflict saw decently armed and trained, but horrifically overwhelmed small force hold their own, but still see some serious territorial ceding having to happen here. Literally, there were the amount, one stat that has stuck with me, that the amount of artillery shells, just the ammo itself that was in the Finnish pre-war reserve, that was fired within, accounts differ slightly, within a day or within a week by Russian artillery, just to show you how hilariously outgunned they were. But they managed to hold their own, and even though having to, at the end of the conflict, do some major territorial cedings, they still managed to remain an independent nation. But in the midst of that, there were insane losses on the parts of the Russians, amongst other things. The Stalin's purges had seen quite a loss of the officer corps, the trained and well-versed part of the military infrastructure you kind of need to do something like that, had been part of the purges here. So just some slight, ever so slight parallels can be drawn to the modern day, but make no mistake, in that conflict, I mean, arguably they did not achieve total success, but Russia still came away as more or less, or I guess the Soviet Union, I should more appropriately say, came away as the victor, gaining territory, even if beyond Pyrrhic victory would be the way I would describe it. But, well, the more things change, the more they stay the same, I guess is the point I'm coming to here, because, well, there's a whole lot to be looked at here, unprepared, unreasonable things being done within the Ukrainian conflict, and yet the amount of might and further units that can be pulled up in here, despite all the analysis, to think that this means that Russia is done and is laughable, that would be a grave mistake, thinking internationally here. And just one other further fun little note, because the more things destabilize, the more destabilization it does seem that could potentially occur. Those reports coming out today about even within Saudi Arabia and those oil fields getting targeted by Houthi rebels, potentially using ballistic missiles out there. So, yeah, it has... Yeah, I mean, it's bad. I mean, Calvin Williams asking directly, do you think it's true that Russia has already lost more troops than we did in the 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan? Maybe, maybe not. Getting reasonable and reliable intel out of this. I mean, I am not an intel person. Open source intelligence, or OSINT as it's called, is surprisingly available, but every bit of information needs to be taken with a grain or boulder of salt, depending on the source here. I mean, there are some talk about there having been a colonel in command of a motorized rifle division getting run over by his own troops purposefully because of them being just sufficiently cheesed off about having lost about half of their unit so far in the conflict. So, I mean, there have been a lot of losses. I mean, that bears out, even just looking at the videos that have come out. As long as you're making sure you're not watching the same one from 4 different angles, it kind of bears out. But I mean, it's messy and it's bad, but anyone who is saying that, oh, then and Russia is done, they're out, they're done, you gravely mistaken. John Browston saying, as long as Ukraine can continue to receive lots of modern weapons and ammo, Russia will not win, unlike the U.S. military-age men are putting up a great fight. I mean, they also can't leave is another point to be made there. But, I mean, there also is more than a few people, I do believe, that are fighting for their country. As I mean, you would have to ask ourselves that question, what would we do in that situation? And as we've seen with some of the polling, not everyone would say yes, as we also have Edgar Ortiz joining us over there. But I pontificated a bit here, as I get accused of. Let's get to the phone lines here right now. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. We have Joe on the west side here with us right now. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Joe. What's on your mind?
Okay, great. Hey, what you were just saying about the Russian army or the military, Russian military, also, you remember during the first Gulf War, Saddam Hussein had contracted a bunch of Russian generals to help defend his country. And they said they were ready for anything. They were going to kill the great state. What happened? The American troops in 4 days, they took over Iraq, most of Iraq, or most of, Kuwait. But they did it really fast in 4 days. So, we know that they're very inefficient. Especially
Okay, Joe, I think we lost you there now. But to your point there, if it didn't come through clearly, asking about there were some Russian generals contracted by Saddam Hussein and the invasion of Kuwait, and that they did a big invasion there, and they saw some rapid dominance there. But, I mean, Saddam Hussein, clearly he was more than a little bit of a client, maybe not a client state totally, of Russia at that point, but, all of his armor was post-Soviet bloc and that kind of a thing. Or, I guess, Soviet bloc up to that point, then recently post-Soviet bloc. So not surprised that he ended up contracted with them, because along with military contracts tends to come a lot more cooperation and input, or at the very least continued military contracts. He had some wide gains in that conflict. The mother of all battles being called for, that ended up being one of the largest tank battles in history, and laughably one-sided, not necessarily at the time for the people involved in it, but from historical perspective, looking back on it over the decades now, unmatched would be an understatement for when it comes to the U.S. forces plowing through that, the whole highway of death. If you want to draw parallels there, would be an interesting one there. But Yeah, easy 100 hours, as Calvin Williams put it here. And to clarifying that, yeah, as do you think, because don't believe everything he hears either. It's everything, again, grain of salt is the about only way I can put it here. So thank you for the point in the call. Sorry, we got a little bit of audio problems there. So we'll take one more quick call before we hit this first break. Already in the first break of the hour, and off to a wild start here for Free for All Friday here. We do have Raul in the Northeast with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Hey, Andrew, on Ukraine, Trump has yet to vociferously condemn and denounce Putin for his invasion of Ukraine. Shame on him, and all his many crimes will be disclosed in time. You know, traitor Trump hasn't vociferously condemned and denounced Putin because Putin penetrated, compromised, and played Trump a long time ago, helping him win the 2016 presidential election, and then delivering big time for Putin, let me tell you. News reports are that Ginny Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, has been... the reports are that she was texting Chief of Staff Mark Meadows to overturn the 2020 election. And in a barrage of text messages, Ginny Thomas, wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, Republican, implored President Donald Trump's Chief of Staff Mark Meadows to overturn the vote. Now, I think Clarence Thomas should resign or be impeached after he explains why he was the only Supreme Court justice to vote to allow Trump to keep from having to turn over his records to the 1-6 committee. He voted against the other 8 justices, a 1-8 vote. He voted against 5 justices who are Republicans. He voted against 3 who were appointed by Trump. Very strange and telling. Now, I tell you, Andrew, my nightmare is that Trump and Putin enabling GOP party win control of the House in November and then possibly making Trump Speaker of the House. What a nightmare. And a former prosecutor investigated Donald Trump, his name is Mark Pomerantz, in a resignation letter wrote that he believes Trump is guilty of numerous felony violations. And I'll tell you, my American dream is Trump and his grifter kids in jail. Now, on the gasoline dividend, consumers and taxpayers pay for everything. Companies pass on all costs and taxes in setting their net profit and their rate of return projections. We should end all subsidies to energy companies. We should end the corporate income tax, because really that is paid for by consumers in the end, by shifting those taxes directly to the shareholders in their personal income tax returns. They ought to convert a portion of the income taxes in shares of stocks of these companies. I'm talking about the energy companies, in the name of all Americans, so that they can get real dividends someday, and require that younger and working Americans have vesting periods for their dividend income to allow that money the opportunity to grow over extended periods of time. And obviously they should allow withdrawals for down payments on homes so people can get homes. It's very tough for young people to get homes nowadays, and allow retirees to immediately spend their dividend income.
I'm kind of surprised that you're suggesting there the end of the corporate income tax there, given that, that's very much not usually. I mean, I don't think anyone out there is even suggesting that. Do you really think that that would result in, among other things, actual lower costs, given that even when there have been things such as, bailouts and things like that, some of them have, when they haven't been explicitly prohibited, have then ended up in things like stock buybacks, which ultimately make things like shareholders more money?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a ruse. It really is. They pick up that money from the consumer when they sell the product. So it's a roundabout way for the government and the politicians to make Americans think that they're taking care of them. And that's one of the problems. We have a broken Congress, very dysfunctional, far from united. They have failed the American people over and over again, both sides of the equation. And that's because they are the creatures of the plutocrats. Too many of them have sold out to the corporate America, and corporate America and their lobbyists come up with the policy propositions that they want, and they get what they want.
I don't think there's much argument to be had on there. Again, there was a slight bump in congressional approval ratings to 20% as the last, I believe it was Gallup poll or similar such organization we talked about recently. So it's gone up just, 2 points, which is not exactly a reason to pop the corks, because 75% of Americans still have a very unfavorable view. No, not very, but unfavorable in general, and I'm sure a good chunk of those in the very unfavorable range out of that here. So, I mean, there's a lot of problems with Congress that come with it, but I wouldn't be surprised. So I wouldn't be surprised if everyone would love to see everyone voted out of Congress, but the problem is that no one votes their congressman. In general, don't come at me about your specific opinions about our congresspersons, but in general, the way it works seems to be that way. But to your further point about the idea of there not being vociferous, I mean, it's opposition of the war in Ukraine. I mean, I do believe that the former president was on Fox Business this week, if I'm looking at the date right, saying that the U.S. needs to get off the sidelines in Ukraine's fight for survival. So, again, maybe you want to look at a little bit other kind of things being said out there when coming to your conclusions, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, thanks for the point in the call. Otherwise, going to get to that break here, already due for that first one in the hour, overdue the way we technically do it, but we're doing that whole free-for-all Friday thing. So if you're wanting to call in during the show, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. We'll come back with more talk about this and a whole lot more, and of course your comments and calls here on Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. Since we are on the cusp of the weekend here, do want to remind you that, of course, Enhanced Flavors is going to be out at the Upper Valley Arts and Farmers Market here this weekend on the 27th, Sunday, in the Hobby Lobby parking lot, because, of course, they are going to be out there and offering samples of their over 40 different flavored olive oils, balsamic vinegars, and extra virgin olive oils. They got a lot here, just some of the ones that I've been trying out recently. I mean, some of the ones I love. The roasted garlic extra virgin olive oil from Tunisia. I mean, they import all of their extra virgin olive oils and flavored olive oils from around the world, including Tunisia, Italy, Greece, and Spain. And of course, all of their balsamic vinegars straight from the Modena province of Italy, because that's what's required for it to be considered an extra virgin olive oil, and of course all of the balsamic vinegars. I mean, they got standards that they want to bring home to you and help spice up your life. So if you want to find them online, again, the way to do that is enhancedflavors.com. Again, enhancedflavors.com. But you can even, again, find them out in the community. Upper Valley Arts and Farmers Market there, 327 this coming Sunday in the Hobby Lobby parking lot near Mesa and Donovan, near Crossroads. So go and try it out for yourself and really, again, help spice up your life. Get the flavors from around the world without ever having to leave home or the borderland. Again, enhancedflavors.com, the place to find all that information, enhancedflavors.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On North Desert Boulevard, on North Desert Boulevard at Trans Mountain, watch for a semi-rollover that's blocking the left lane. Use Artcraft or Vinton Road as alternates. Gateway Boulevard northbound, just south of Woodrow Bean. An injury accident. The crash is at Gateway northbound at Cohen Avenue. I-10 eastbound at Zaragoza. Accident reported there. I-10 westbound at Geronimo. A crash is causing a backup. Expect delays. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples has your remote workspace covered with functional furniture and organizational items curated by Staples Work From Home Style Squad. This week, save up to $100 on select chairs. Offer ends 3/26, limit 2, in-store only. Explore solutions for your remote workspace at Staples.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-529-2856. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 to 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-529-2856. That's 800-529-2856 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-529-2856. 800-529-2856.
Hey, Mario and Courtney here. We know life is better together.
And Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
It's red carpet season. Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath lets us know we won't be worried about bad breath.
So go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find it at your favorite store.
Remember, our favorite tip for up close, better together moments starts with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
Just 2 rinses a day give you 24 hours of confidence.
Hey, spring is here, and the warmer weather means you've got a lot more going on. Don't let COVID get in the way of any of it. COVID vaccines offer the strongest possible protection now and from long-term effects in the future. Protect yourself and your plans. We can do this. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. That's vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial. That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at Facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show, particularly on a day like today. Friday, Free for All Friday is on deck, which means we are taking your comments and calls throughout the show. A whole lot to get to here. A whole lot has already come up this show, and of course that has come up this whole week and beyond. We got some of those pound 250 calls we'll be getting to as well. But again, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM is the number to call if you want to get on the line here. A lot of comments coming in over on the social media as well. RJ about Hunter Biden, that whole messy situation. Calvin Williams, Ian Graham, Nancy Oliver, John Brazelton, and more. I mean, yeah, there's some interesting commentary about focuses of other callers here, but I've never found it. Well, usually, before this week, I could have said I've never found myself just totally confounded by a call. Okay, I'll argue I wasn't even still totally confounded by that specific one yesterday. That we got at least a couple of calls coming in later on, at least £1 250 message here, but we'll get into that. But I mean, a lot to discuss here. That's why we do it the way we do on Friday. So let's go back to the phone lines here right now. I do believe we have Jerry on the west side here on the line with us. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. I want to discuss that gas card that they're talking about.
Oh yeah,
that money is just going to come out of our taxes again, or not necessarily our taxes, our children's and our grandchildren's taxes. And it's also a thing to get us used to getting subsidies from the government, so that when our dollar crushes or fails, is brought down to its knees, that the government will come in and issue things like green card, commodity cards, or whatever you want to call them, for things like gas. It's not due to the price of gas. It's just due to people in Washington don't know what they're doing. Okay. Another point I want to make is the past week we talked about marijuana in New Mexico.
Oh, yep.
And there's a study that's been done by the National Institute of Health, just come out that same day from the Washington Examiner, says no splendor in the grass. Study shows even medical marijuana use is harmful. A study from the National Institute of Health found an increase in risk of suicides was associated with marijuana use. So if anybody's interested in looking that one up, Washington Examiner has it. And that's one more reason why Texas should not go to marijuana use as far as recreational use. Okay. Now, anybody listens to KTSM 690 in the morning know who Glenn Beck is. And he's got some good information put out there. And I do recommend everybody go and look at his Wednesday night thing on our dollar being crushed. And this is being planned on so that they can control how we spend. And one more thing, I told Rudy a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, to watch out that he may be involved in being starved to death like Venezuela. Well, guess what? Joe Biden said yesterday that everybody's going to suffer from food shortages.
Yep, that did come out.
So, yes. So, and guess what? That was put out by Glenn Beck about 3 weeks ago. So, even like Nicki Minaj says, that great orator and oracle, Nicki Minaj, if a Republican tells you not to step in front of a bus because it's moving too fast, maybe you better not step in front of that bus. You know. All right. Have a good one, y'all.
Oh, no, sure thing. Thank you for the
Thank
point in the call there. I mean, a lot of this analysis, I mean, yeah, the whole food situation, maybe not 3 weeks ago, but ever since the start of the conflict and more information I was seeing coming out about the essentially how Ukraine is the breadbasket of Eurasia in a whole lot of ways, not necessarily as much imports coming over here, but I mean, squeeze in one part of the world, given the whole global system we have, is going to create more demand in the remaining parts of it. So, I mean, food shortages, I mean, there's even now talk within, when it comes to oil and gas anyway, a rationing within Germany of gasoline and diesel even that I was seeing coming up. So, I mean, there's the second order and even third order impacts coming out of all of this are going to abound even further. And this is why I don't subscribe to any of the partisan analysis. Just because someone says it and it fits their worldview must mean it's wrong. Try to look at it and be like, okay, I mean, sure, there may be a little bit of bias within any implicit. I'm sure I have my own, but you can be a little bit blind to it. But even then, so just take the ideas and look at them on their own merit of, okay, is this reality? Does it bear the weight of truth behind it? And then making plans beyond that. I mean, that's why I kind of tend to use the phrase weird. Like, sure, there's going to be a lot of bad coming from a lot of this, but then the potential for, at least in the region, there being more economic activity because of the oil field boom that we are very much, I feel, on the cusp of. I mean, even before the war in the Ukraine kicked off and all the Ukrainian conflict, very much was seeming like, that it was going to be starting to happen here because of the creeping up gas prices even before then. So just because someone that you don't like says something doesn't mean that it's not true. It's just a good adage to live by. I mean, you may be able to discount certain ideas if it comes out with, kind of stolid talking points. This happens, unfortunately, more often than not. But I do really believe that by looking at just the idea on its merits and whether it bears out or not is important and will be important going forth here. So we got to take that next break right now, try to get back on the clock here. We'll take more calls after the break here. So if you're trying to call in, keep doing that. If you're on the line, stay there for just another minute. We'll be back with more Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690. Again, my name is Andrew Polk, your host. The number to call, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 Morning News Update. It's been nearly 3 weeks since a Montwood middle school teacher was arrested. He's accused of indecency with a child. Now, this week, CBS 4 received information saying that our open records request for Marcos Chavez's arrest affidavit will be up to the Texas Attorney General to decide. The El Paso County Attorney's Office decided to leave it up to the Attorney General because of the sensitivity of this case. Now, they want his opinion on this decision, given that the accusation does involve a child. Now, it could take up to 45 days to receive an answer from the Texas Attorney General, but you can count on us to bring you the latest on this story. And always remember, you can stay up to date with the latest news, all by signing up for our CBS Forward newsletter. It's easy and free to sign up. Just go to cbs4local.com, enter your email address, and from there, you'll start receiving our daily news updates straight to your inbox. I'm Selena Madrid with your morning news update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
I-10 eastbound at Zaragoza. Multi-vehicle accident there is blocking the right lane and causing a backup. Expect delays there. North Desert Boulevard at Trans Mountain. An overturned semi-tractor trailer is blocking the left lane. Use Artcraft as a way around it. I-10 eastbound at Zaragoza. Accident reported. And Zaragoza just north of North Loop at Uranium. A serious fire. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Windy days will see a significant drop in our daytime highs by Thursday afternoon. Expect windy conditions tonight with temperatures ranging from the mid-30s to the lower 40s by tomorrow morning. Coming up tonight, we'll talk about cooler weather headed our way. Plus, I'm tracking another pattern change and if that brings calmer weather for the weekend. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kira Miner.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Hiring heating up? Indeed's hiring platform makes it easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates all in one place. Sponsor a post and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates on Indeed, whose resumes match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Hey, El Paso, this is Ivan Ochoa, General Manager from Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. We've extended Ram truck months and deals are even bigger and better with 0% interest, more for your trade, huge savings, and a huge selection of new and certified pre-owned vehicles with more arriving daily.
Buy now
and get huge savings during Ram Truck Month at Southern Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Save thousands in interest with 0 APR for 72 months on the all-new 2022 Jeep Wagoneer, full-size SUV with third-row seating. 2022 Ram trucks with 0 APR for 72 months, 0 down, 0 payments for 90 days. Upside down on your trade? We want it. Even if you owe thousands more than it's worth, we've partnered with even more aggressive lenders with great rates and terms for good credit, or even if your credit is less than perfect. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Southern Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying your truck is fun. At I-10 at Southern Park Drive or online at southernparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso, El Paso Strong. Excludes factory rebate at dealer discount plus TTNL. 0 APR is $13.89 per thousand finance. On select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Are you covered by Medicare and Medicaid? Well, El Paso Health Plus is the plan for you. As a local Medicare Advantage plan, we can offer our members more. Call us at 833-742-3125 or EPHmedicare.com. El Paso Health Plus.
Frontline Plus is the #1 name in flea and tick protection. So, however you want to live life with your pets, Frontline Plus lets you take them everywhere, no matter how you define it. Available for dogs or cats. Visit frontline.com to learn more.
This report is sponsored by the maker of Frontline Plus.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. Keeping you informed and up to date. El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments coming through there. We also have those phone lines open. The number to call there, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Being the number to call. Open lines throughout the show here because it is Free for All Friday. A lot of stuff we're getting to. Kevin Williams waving as well. John Brousel to let us know he's going to be not paying attention, cheering for Kansas there. Only 4 more wins. Good luck. Bracket busters abound here. Okay, I'll say this. I once drove, if you ever driven through Kansas end to end, you're in that state long enough that it feels like you get residency. So as a former Kansas resident, in that way, go Jayhawks. I don't have any flesh in this game. So if it works out for them and it works out for you, so much here. Cal Williams saying he does like Jesse Kelly at night here. And a lot more comments coming here. Nancy Oliver, Ian Graham, Calvin Williams, RJ, John Browselton, and more. So again, if you want to tune in or chime in, it takes on its own tenor of conversation over there, particularly the Skeptic Squad as it gets into gear, already up there today. But a lot of stuff we're talking about here today, but we'll take on any subject. Again, 915-544-5876. 544-KTSM, the number to call. Let's get back to those phone lines right now. We do have Jorge calling in from Brooklyn right now. Jorge, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, Andrew. I want to call and I want to offer a word of encouragement to Vice President. I think that she's doing a great job. You know, in that difficult position that she's in, the information she has to digest and then convey is really, at sometimes, really very intricate. In her ability to do it in the way that she has, in a simplified.
Jorge, okay, I think we lost Jorge there. Not anything doing on my end, I promise here, but sometimes the phone lines don't cooperate here. So on the general point there, as long as I think I got the idea, congratulating the vice president on her job. Sure, that's your prerogative to do, though. Some of the analysis, the way it's getting described, including part of, as was brought up, the Poland visit or the European visit in general going on right now, or recently, leaving a little bit to be desired with the public statements anyway. If she's better behind closed doors, that's a little bit beyond my knowledge and experience. But again, the whole Ukraine and explaining the situation left a little bit to be desired on my end here. But I guess we should all hope for competent and able to complete the job elected officials, though we also get what we vote for sometimes, I will say that. So sorry that we call cut out there, but thank you for the point in the call anyway there. Get to more calls in the line here. We'll squeeze in another one here, more than I expected. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Make sure you got good signal if you're calling in there because, well, maybe you're having some issues with it. Calvin Williams referencing that statement there that I was mentioning. Yeah, Kansas, RJ, they seeming to echo my experience with Kansas, where you can stand on a can and watch your dog run away for 2 days. Don Haskins quote concerning the Texas Panhandle. Again, I don't want to drag up too much of my personal experience here, but once you get past the nice park where they got going through like the first half of the state, you hit every little corn town. And I know it's a corn town because they got the silos and they got the signs and they got the processing going there, and every speed limit. Imagine a half a state full of Oro Grandes, if you're ever driving out that way, how the speed limit goes down to 15 because that's the other major industry in the town is giving out tickets. So, again, go Jayhawks. Anyway, getting back to the phone lines here. We do have Mark on the west side here with us right now. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Andrew, thanks for taking my call. Hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah, you seem to be coming through all right there.
As usual, Raul had a lot to say, and I was listening. But I just wanted to respond to 2 things that struck me. One, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one that caught it, but his American dream, wanting people to be in prison, seemed pretty miserable to me. It seems like a pretty miserable dream. And the second thing is just kind of, I don't even know if he realizes the hypocrisy in his rant was that he mentioned that Congress is divided, but I think he's probably one of the most divisive callers on the show as far as being so far to one side. It never really sounds like he would be the kind of person that would relent and compromise what would be necessary in order to have unity. So this, I don't know. I think sometimes it's good to talk about the big picture, and I think that Congress should be divided. We should have, we should have 2 separate sides, and they should have to really fight to get something done in government. I know that might sound counterintuitive to some people, but we got to go back to some basic civics. Is that we don't want a straight democracy. We want representation. We want there to be disagreement, and for it to be really difficult for our government to actually do something. That's exactly how our Constitution was set up, to have those separation of powers, to literally have a divided Congress into the 2 houses. And so it just seems weird that, in one breath, he's saying these things about that are very divisive, and then saying he wants unity. And I just wanted to bring that up as kind of a big picture idea.
Interesting point you bring up there, absolutely. I will say that, the entire point, when you're talking about the way our system was designed, as compared to other governments where they have the prime minister system, which kind of acts as somewhere in between the executive, more of the head of the actual legislative branch. Technically, often a lot of countries then also have a president, but in our system, designed to be that essentially Congress passing laws, but kind of supposed to be slow rolling, slow to act, considered to act, more specifically, and then the executive branch being the maintenance of day-to-day operations, which can't necessarily happen slowly, but then also quick reacting military, those kind of things, meant to be that way, absolutely. I will say there's a difference between division and deadlock. And where we often come down to too much, the only reason that I think things have been passing right now is that we're just shy of one party having total control of both the houses and the presidency. We got that whole 50+1 situation in the Senate and a majority for the Democrats within the House of Representatives. And that's about the only reason anything's probably been able to be passed right now, because it has seen in the last, you pick a date. I've sort of heard some analysis going back to Newt Gingrich, even, that if it wasn't that one party had total control, nothing would be done, because the system as it was designed to be, envisioned to be by the founders anyway, from their own writings, was that there is supposed to be, they didn't even want parties. They didn't even want just 2 sides. They wanted everyone to essentially, elected and individually, voters, to be their own party, essentially, and then come to their own reasons for them supporting one particular politician within the representative side of things, but otherwise be kind of free-floating, looking at, weighing the pros and cons of every issue. Now, of course, that's not the system as the way it bore out, because they pretty quickly realized, we kind of forgot to account for the idea of parties. You design a new system, stuff's going to happen. But the idea of there not being able to be anything but all one way or all the other is not how the system is supposed to work, but it is the way it is functioning at the moment here. And there's, for all the foresight the founders did have, this is one that they, again, pretty immediately realized, we didn't really deal with that, and we are now having to deal with now. So I will say that, yes. Good.
Yeah, I don't know. I would maybe argue with you just a little bit as far as whether deadlock is a flaw. In fact, it may actually be a feature. And if we were to go back, and again, we're talking big picture here, right?
Sure.
If we were to go back and look at the things that actually, quote unquote, got done during a time when there was, parties were controlling all sides. If we were to go back and look at that, I would contend that probably a lot of those things that got passed were not great for the country. But then again, I believe in a small government. So thank you so much for your time. You have a good one.
No, I appreciate the point of the call there. Happy to debate this subject, literally what we're here to do. So I appreciate your perspective, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that like the idea of Congress not getting anything done great. It means they're not doing anything bad. Like, that's certainly a perspective that can be had. More specifically, though, I think that, certain baselines of government, passing budgets, funding agencies, those kind of things need to be done. And the fact that even those have become hyper-partisan right now, there's a reason Congress isn't popular overall. Again, literally at certain points has been less popular than the idea of a communist takeover of the United States by polling numbers, which also very unpopular, if you might be able to guess here. So it's bad. It's a problem. But I guess the way I look at it is that, yes, there should definitely, do not mistake me that I like the idea of there being one party in control and them doing everything at once. Yeah, I think that's when the weirdest stuff happens, regardless of who it is, because if there's not that other side saying, wait, maybe consider something at the very least, it gets, absolute power corrupts absolutely, that whole refrain there. So, but I do find the idea of there being able to be compromise. Literally, that is a concept around which our government was designed, at the very least the legislative branch, and arguably most of it, I would say, if not all of it, around the idea of compromise and finding common ground in it. And that seems to have become, well, a four-letter word and a phrase that is not uttered very much and considered dirty here. But we'll talk more about that here as we got to take that next break right now. Coming out of the break, we'll get to more calls and comments on the line, because that's what we do here on Fridays. Free for All Friday is on deck, taking your comments and calls throughout the show. So that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at Zaragoza. Multi-vehicle accident there is blocking the right lane and causing a backup. Expect delays there. North Desert Boulevard at Trans Mountain, an overturned semi-tractor trailer is blocking the left lane. Use Artcraft as a way around it. I-10 eastbound at Zaragoza, accident reported. And Zaragoza, just north of North Loop at Uranium, a serious fire. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples has your remote workspace covered with functional furniture and organizational items curated by Staples Work-From-Home Style Squad. This week, save up to $100 on select chairs. Offer ends 3/26, limit 2, in-store only. Explore solutions for your remote workspace at Staples.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. It sure feels good to step into a warm car after letting it heat up for a few minutes. However, this practice wastes gas, increases emissions, and pollutes the air. Limit idling your car to no more than 3 minutes to save money at the gas station and improve air quality. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Congrats to all the winners from the iHeartRadio Music Awards. Because of everyone who got vaccinated, we were able to celebrate our favorite artists together live.
Shout out to all who got vaccinated and gotten their kids vaccinated.
So events like this are safer and just more enjoyable for all. Missed it? Check out the Red Carpet Live presented by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services on iHeartRadio's Facebook and YouTube channel. Get vaccinated, get boosted, and find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov.
Have you thought about getting dental implants? Has someone told you that implants cost $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a tooth? Here's something much better to think about. Affordable dental implants from 1995implants.com. The El Paso Dental Office, where beautiful, top-quality, long-lasting dental implants are as low as $1,995 per tooth. That price includes the implant, abutment, and crown, which many other places charge extra for. At 1995implants.com, we also offer a free consultation, free standard x-rays, and convenient financing. 1995implants.com. You're gonna love your new smile, and your friends and family will be telling you how great you look. Best of all, your dental implants are very affordable if you come to 1995implants.com. For more information, see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
I love when my friends stop by, but to help keep my friends and my family safe, I always spray Lysol in my home before guests arrive and again after they leave. Nothing kills more viruses on more surfaces than Lysol disinfectant spray. Lysol, what it takes to protect. Use as directed.
Do you need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped directly to you at prices less than big box retailers. Blindster blinds are easy to install and guaranteed to fit. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop Blindster today and save big. Blindster.com.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show. Of course, we've got the phone lines open right now, as it is Free for All Friday. The number to call there, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. 915 on there if I didn't say that already. In any case, we got a couple calls in line we'll get to here, but also the comments coming in through the social media. RJJ, technically to say the way he has it on screen there. Raul Francisco Amaya, Calvin Williams, John Brazelton, Ian Grimm, and Nancy Oliver a little bit earlier. A lot of those comments come in there. RJ saying that the left loves their opposition, two ways, silence or in prison. Why can't the left have a debate without calling for one of the two? You don't get this, but censorship will cut both ways. I mean, the whole lock 'em up chants on either side bore and concern me in probably equal measure, because for the most part, they are just the chant. And then if it ever becomes real, that's where the concern comes in. But yeah, that whole concept, censorship cuts both ways. To put it another way, I've heard it phrased, the cage that was built for someone else can certainly be used on you. So the idea of anyone being controlled of a limit on liberty and that power being held in such a way in governments, again, a very persuasive way I think about any power being held by any level of government is if the idea of someone that does not agree with you ideologically holding that position and therefore being in charge of that power terrifies you, maybe that position and or power should not exist at that level or in government in general. I think a lost point about the 9th and 10th Amendment a lot of times being, and also confusion about the Bill of Rights in general, is not that they grant rights to you and I. In fact, it's just the opposite. Those are specific restrictions on the government and specific things that they cannot interfere with, and more or less that the rest of the rights not enumerated in the Constitution are held by the state governments or the people respectively. That's what the 9th and 10th is about. So I think that is an important point that gets lost in why constitutional education is something that very much needs to be more focused on here. But let's go back to those phone lines, get at least one more call. We do have Barbara on the west side here with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew, for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start with a side note because this isn't really what I was calling about. But it turns out today it was reported that the White House sent out a warning of a dangerous mass migration event at the border. So all the border cities are reporting are really upset. Isn't it amazing? We've been warning about this for 2 years, and now the White House is warning us about what we've been warning them. Amazing, just amazing work on behalf of this White House. But what I was actually calling about were patents. I received a call on Wednesday from my nephew who had been waiting 2 years to get a patent. And he described the process of his invention and the prototypes and the time and money and the sleepless nights he spent just to get his patent, okay? And if you remember during the pandemic, President Biden just on national TV announced that they were thinking of sharing the intellectual property of the vaccines with other countries.
Yes.
I'm sure China was waiting just with a bit to get that one. And we didn't hear anything about it after that. Well, just today, the Biden administration is going to make changes to the patent law. And essentially what they're doing is stating that anybody can go in and infringe on your patent and you have no recourse. And the article had a really interesting analogy. It was akin to the American dream. We all want to own a home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, it's like owning your home, a total stranger just walking in your door and taking over your house. You can't evict him. You can't tell him to leave. He now owns your house. And that's the same thing that the Biden administration is doing with, it's called standard essential patents. So if you have something on the high tech is all for it. We know why. I mean, why spend millions and billions of dollars on developing your own technology when you can just go in and find someone else's patent and use it for your purposes? So that was pretty outrageous that the Biden administration would think of that. But if you recall, President Trump and another thing that the Biden administration is doing away with had what's called a Chinese initiative. And they were out there prosecuting and convicting if that's what it led to, people who were stealing our intellectual property. There's a billionaire right now he was a Duke student who was working under a professor here, and the professor allegedly states that he stole his property. He went to China and he set up a meta universe or whatever it was. But he's a billionaire. And the professor sued him. Well, the Biden administration announced that they're doing away with the Chinese initiative. And one of the things that they said about it is because, well, we can do things without offending other countries. Just the name of the project is enough to just shut it down. And it's just amazing that the Biden administration is just bent on giving our borders away and now our intellectual property so easily and shutting down the Chinese initiative. When are they going to stop doing these dangerous, thoughtless implementation of policies that are going to hurt? Who's going to want to work on a patent now? I certainly wouldn't want to spend time, money, sleepless nights to get a patent for no reason, because basically it's not your patent, according to the changes that they're proposing to make under the patent law. So it just goes on and on. When it's not one thing, it's another with the Biden administration. It's a sad state of affairs. And I'm not complaining. I am stating facts. These are the facts that we're living. This is the reality of what the Biden administration is doing to our government. So thank you for taking my call, Andrew.
Oh, no, sure thing. I mean, these are important things to talk about. What is going on, the impacts we can see from it. I mean, this has some smackings of the whole patent troll issue, but that may be a different kettle of fish. But tell you what, we'll have to get into that here in the next segment because we are due for that next break here already. So we'll talk more about this and the other subjects we're on today, plus what you want to bring up, because it is Free for All Friday, with your calls and comments on the line throughout the show. So thank you, Barbara, for the point in the call. We'll take more. 915-544-5876. 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at Zaragoza, a multi-vehicle crash is blocking the right lane and causing a backup back to Lee Trevino right now. I-10 eastbound, expect delays right now. North Desert Boulevard at Trans Mountain, a semi-rollover. That's blocking the left lane. Use Artcraft as an alternate there. An injury accident downtown at El Paso and Father Ram. Take South Campbell or 3rd Avenue as alternates. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Mass Mutual knows retirement can be an uncomfortable conversation.
Who's the big boy?
You are.
Who's going to take care of us when we retire?
It's gonna be you.
You're going to make sure we don't end up in a retirement home.
Or if we do, it's a really nice one.
With tango lessons.
And bocce ball.
And a community pool. Oh.
Talk to us about retirement today. Feel comfortable about tomorrow. Mass Mutual. Live Mutual.
Stay tuned and stay informed with News Radio 690 KTSM, an iHeart radio station. News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Around 300 people are dead after a Russian attack on a Ukrainian theater in the city of Mariupol. Officials noted around 600 survived in the attack on the location that was being used to shelter folks from the war. The attack was specifically mentioned this week when U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Russian forces have committed war crimes. President Biden is thanking U.S. troops who are part of NATO's military force in Poland After arriving in the southeastern part of that country, Biden told U.S. service members the work is consequential, really consequential.
You represent 1% of the American people. None of you have to be here. You all decided to be here for your country. Every one of you volunteered. Every single one of you stepped up. And the rest of the 99% of the rest of the country, including me, owes you.
He said the U.S. military is the finest fighting force in the history of the world. The House Majority Leader says the House will be ready to pass more aid for Ukraine as needed. In a letter to members, Maryland Democrat Steny Hoyer said the House will also be ready to act if the Senate approves a new COVID relief bill. A recent effort to pass a new COVID bill fell apart in a last-minute dispute over how to pay for it. Analysts are assessing the surge of at-home COVID tests during the Omicron variant wave of coronavirus.
The CDC says at-home testing rose much more significantly than it did during the prior Delta variant surge. Newly released statistics also reveal some disparities. White people were much more likely to report at-home test usage than Black Americans. Meantime, people making more than $150,000 a year were more likely to report using at-home tests. I'm Lisa Taylor.
2 people are dead in a North Texas helicopter crash. Rowlett police announced the second death this afternoon. The chopper went down today in a grassy area by several stores and started burning on impact. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. The Biden administration is announcing a change to immigration policy in an effort to expedite asylum claims at the border. Eddie McCoven explains.
The policy change will allow asylum officers to approve or deny claims, something previously reserved for immigration judges. Asylum officers will make decisions on cases within 90 days, and rejected applicants will then be sent to an immigration judge, who are also now required to make a ruling within 90 days. Supporters of the new policy say it's long overdue, but those against it say asylum officers may not be as well prepared to detect fraudulent claims. I'm Eddie McCoven.
The zero-tolerance policy regarding unruly airline passengers will go on. That's according to FAA Chief Steve Dixon. He told CNBC such incidents have fallen in the last year, but there are still too many of them. Just under 6,000 reports of bad behavior were logged by the FAA last year. Most of those involved passengers who didn't mask up despite a mandate being in place. New York City officials are calling on Albany lawmakers to grant them direct control over the city's red light cameras. Natalie Migliori reports.
The city wants to be able to keep enforcement cameras on 24/7, citing a 71% decrease in speeding when surveillance is at play.
We don't want to continue to rob our children of a lifetime of success based on vehicle crashes.
Mayor Eric Adams, elected officials, and advocates gathered on busy Ocean Boulevard in Brooklyn Friday at the site of a deadly overnight crash in 2020. Officials say 59% of traffic fatalities now occur when enforcement is off.
Fewer people are signing contracts for previously owned homes. The National Association of Realtors says pending home sales fell 4.1% in February. The decline surprised industry analysts who expected a slight gain heading into the unusually busy spring season. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by Kelley Blue Book. Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer is an official offer to buy your car. Enter your vehicle ID info, answer some questions, then get a no-obligation offer to sell or trade it. Then choose a dealer to purchase your car. Schedule a time and drive away with confidence. For all of the it's, kbb.com it.
Hey, Mario and Courtney here. We know life is better together.
And Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
It's red carpet season. Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath lets us know we won't be worried about bad breath.
So go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find it at your favorite store.
Remember, our favorite tip for up-close, better together moments starts with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
Just 2 rinses a day give you 24 hours of confidence.
It's Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and it's important that people 45 and older get screened. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cancer killer, but it can be prevented with regular screenings. Few people like getting colorectal cancer screenings, but it's important to talk with your doctor about it because people have put off screenings during the COVID-19 pandemic. The need for men and women to get screened is especially critical now. New recommendations call for colorectal cancer screenings to start at age 45. Visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
Making false threats is a joke, think again. Any communication threatening students, teachers, and staff at schools or public places is a federal crime that could lock people behind prison doors for up to 5 years.
I'm FBI Deputy Director David Bowditch, making you aware that hoax threats have real consequences. We don't want to see a young person begin their adult lives with a felony record.
Making false threats is not a joke. Think before you post. Visit FBI.gov.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media sites we're on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. All of those are to say you can get with us there, tune into the show, see the conversation going on, or even join in on it yourself because, well, most of those, Twitter, it's more of like a DM kind of a situation, but you can, of course, message, and we see most of them here on our main area as we got Barbara Carrasco, RJ, Raul Amaya, and more tuning in, chiming. Calvin Williams, of course, over on the social media. Barbara asking, where's our mayor, county judge Escobar regarding the White House internal memo? Should we, the residents of El Paso, know what is happening on our border, or are they as clueless as we are? I mean, we did have that letter sent out a little bit earlier this week about potential, again, the whole in-country processing, but not exactly getting close to what you're discussing there. So the comments take on their own tenor, but we, of course, got those phone lines open. The number to call there, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Taking them throughout the rest of the show here as we do that on Friday, Free for All Friday, as we like to call it, with those open lines throughout the program. Kevin Williams saying, seeing other border mayors talking about their towns, but not ours. I mean, there's some that has been mentioned about, processing and things like that, mostly the community level response, not so much I've been involved in some programs, including Bruce Dumont's Beyond the Beltway that does, of course, air here on News Radio 690 KTSM over on the weekends, talking with some specifically other border county judges specifically that I've been alongside on that program with. So there's some discussion, but yeah, not exactly a major focus, except for, I'm not actually sure if there's any city or county funds going towards the whole migrant coordinator and response that we had there in town for a bit here. Maybe a good one to follow up on that. You brought it to mind here, but if you want to leave your comments over there, they're more than welcome to do so, or call in, because the number to do so there, if you want to join us on air, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM is the number to call here. And right now we do have Andrew on the west side here on the line with us. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much. Just wanted to shift gears a little bit. I was reading an article earlier today from the Texas Tribune about Beto O'Rourke touting his small business experience and criticizing Abbott for receiving a check from the public sector. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's been one of the ones that I keep hinting at in some of our announcement posts of dabbling in Texas politics, but we keep getting sidetracked by other things. But yeah, read that article earlier this week, as a matter of fact, as we're got more of that run up to that race, of course, happening, trying to pull it up here right now. And so, yeah, that analysis was interesting to be coming from O'Rourke, particularly aimed towards Abbott.
Yes, since O'Rourke has served, has received a paycheck from the public sector for many years. But I just wanted to let people know, besides Abbott being experienced, he has a degree of a Bachelor of Business Administration and Finance from UT Austin, and then a law degree from Vanderbilt University. A lot of people may not know that.
Yep.
Yes, but Abbott did spend quite a few years before he became a jurist. He spent quite a few years in private practice with several prominent law firms in East Texas.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't come to that post or any of his positions he held before seeking elected office just kind of on a whim. I mean, there have been less qualified people nominated for higher office. I will certainly say and agree with you there.
Yes, well, another thing that worries me about Beto is I don't feel he's any friend to the Second Amendment.
as much as the recent statements of, oh, I'm a full supporter of the Second Amendment, but then coming out as saying, and I see the open carry, constitutional carry, permitless carries, more specifically in Texas, as being a threat to that, and kind of going on the rhetoric that was kind of in place ahead of the legislative session in which this was proposed and ultimately came through from some of the law enforcement groups and even local agencies in Texas, kind of using that as the avenue to come into the criticism. But again, I'm leaving it up to individual interpretation, whether you buy it or not. That initial statement that he's been coming out with, that he fully supports the Second Amendment, whether you buy that or not, finding it not necessarily as persuasive myself, I will admit.
I find it non-persuasive, and I don't believe anything he says. But it seems to be, like I said, I really don't care either way about constitutional carry, But it seems that almost 50%, we now have 24 states in the union that now allow permitless carry.
Yeah, I mean, it has, again, an increasing wave that has been coming in for better part of decades, I want to say now. Really, I mean, it's been ramped up in the last, since the turn of the millennia, as I feel like a little bit before my true ability to involve and experience politics, but that has been an inciting point, and a lot of this has moved, and again, it just baffled me, as I've said before, what was going on in New Mexico versus Texas when it came to that level of permissiveness of the laws to, exercise your otherwise rights.
Correct. Now, I remember Raul talking about, more cohesiveness or unity, as I recall. Am I correct?
That's a decent summary of the point here, though he went into some finer aspects of it, but saying that, the idea that Congress is massively unpopular, as we all know it is a sign that just you going all one way or the other is kind of a bad thing. That may be more of my point in there, but yes, call for unity for sure.
Well, I do feel that I think their definition of unity is when everybody agrees with what they want. In other words, the Democrats agree. You have to agree with them. To me, that's their definition of unity.
I do get the sense of that a lot of the time. The idea in not even just news coverage, but in just like popular media, TV shows, the idea that, you don't want to live in a big city and, have a small apartment and, take mass transit. You want to live, like, the whole idea that, not that the whole city-country divide really bears out when it comes to partisan divide, but, that's a popular refrain that, again, even just outside of news media kind of comes out, that the people who don't want to live in high density are therefore weird. It goes a lot worse than that, of course, when it comes to that whole analysis, but that's a kind of, I guess, benign-ish way it comes out. And therefore, if you don't agree with that core concept, you're weird at best when it's portrayed in popular media. So, yeah, I can say that, unity does not mean a lack, in reality anyway. Unity does not mean a lack of dissension on it, but it means more ability. That's why I like consensus and compromise as better terms to come to than, frankly, unity, because, all coming together, kumbaya, sure, but what if someone is having problems with the status quo that is then being celebrated by doing that kind of activity? And they're saying, well, you just need to unite with us and we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, that's not exactly unity or any of the ways we need to live in my mind.
True. Reminds me of a phrase that a friend of mine mistakenly said: "You're entitled to your opinion as long as it agrees with mine."
Yeah, that does seem to come up a little bit too often for my liking, for sure.
Yes. Oh, and last but not least, kudos to Barbara, and thank you for that information, Barbara, that you provided. Very, very interesting. But anyway, have a good weekend and have a good evening.
You too. Thank you for the point and the call here. Tell you what, we're going to try to stop breaking the clock here as we have here, and we're going to go ahead and take that first break. We got more calls coming in on the lines there, so if you're calling in, stay there. If you want to call in, the number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-915-544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
That multi-vehicle accident I-10 eastbound at Zaragoza finally has all the vehicles off to the side and all lanes are back open. There's still a backup to Lee Trevino. North Desert Boulevard, Trans Mountain, that truck rollover, still blocking the left lane. I-10 eastbound at Airway. Watch for a stalled vehicle blocking the left shoulder. And downtown El Paso Street and Father Ron, there's an injury accident. You can use South Campbell Street to get around that. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Sign up for Lowe's MVP's Pros Awards and Partnership Program and get exclusive rewards to help level up your business. Program subject to terms and conditions, valid through 12/31/22. See Lowe's.com/L/pro loyalty terms, subject to change.
iHeartRadio Earth knows small changes can make a big difference. Want to reduce your food waste? Embrace your freezer. From bread to meat and even cheese, most foods can be frozen and cooked later. Plus, a full freezer uses less electricity. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Congrats to all the winners from the iHeartRadio Music Awards. Because of everyone who got vaccinated, we were able to celebrate our favorite artists together, live.
Shout out to all who got vaccinated and gotten their kids vaccinated.
So events like this are safer and just more enjoyable for all.
Missed it? Check out the Red Carpet Live, presented by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services on iHeartRadio's Facebook and YouTube channel.
Thank you guys so much.
Get vaccinated, get boosted, and find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov.
At the United States Postal Service, we deliver packages fast and affordably so you can give your customers what they want when they need it. We're delivering for one-stop shops, mom and pops, pop-ups, startups, retail, wholesale, large scale, small biz, big box, customers, customizers. So no matter what business you're in, we'll always be delivering for you. USPS, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/delivering.
This is the story of a very special woman. Just a few knew about her superpowers. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Stay informed at KTSMradio.com. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of ways to tune in, be a part of the show here. A lot of comments coming in over on the social media. The Skeptic Squad picking up over there on facebook.com/Talk El Paso. More or less the main page. It's where a lot of people, we started off anyway, and a lot of people still comment. And it's where the Skeptic Squad lives. That's undeniable. And the Thunderdome of comments comes in every day. Some of the ones coming in after this recent call here, RJ saying, where is it here? That amazing how Congress gets 20% approval or worse and gets reelected 80% or more of the time. It's y'all's congresspersons, not mine. Technically, he said it's you all's congressperson, but that's how I say it. Again, that is the systemic problem we're looking at here with the way it's constructed and the way people are ticked at every other congressperson besides theirs. And yes, I know there are plenty of people who don't like the congresspersons that we have in our area, but again, talk with everyone else around you if you want to start dealing with that here. Louis Pinato, in reference to the last call, saying we should not compromise with evil. Sure, I mean, evil, to quote a different show, greater, middle, lesser, it's all still evil. But be careful how you're applying that kind of a phrase, because if it comes down to evil is those who doesn't agree with me, you're saying the same thing that the other side is probably saying, just in slightly different words. So the idea that, well, I can't agree with you because of, well, whatever, besides it coming down to this is harmful, really for me, is just, again, saying that it's work. We can all be fine as long as you agree with my opinion in a different way. Calvin Williams saying electing the same elected officials and expecting a different result is the new definition of insanity, and one we've been doing for many years in many different ways. Miguelino Salazar also chiming in, I guess, liking at least one of the bits of commentary here. And Andrew Zignorant saying that the great humorist George Carlin said there's only one party in D.C. and we're not invited. That has proven more true in a lot of ways than I would like to admit, but hey, we try to deal with reality here on and off basis, a complicated relationship with it here. Anyway, getting to more calls in the line here. Again, the number to call, well, they're full up at the moment, but if you want to get in, wedge your way in a little bit later, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Calvin Williams saying, not sure we are the Skeptic Squad. Maybe I'm being a little skeptical. Hey, that applies. That works for me here. Anyway, getting to more of the calls here. Again, the number 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Then more confirmation. Hey, all that it takes to be on the Skeptic Squad is professing your skepticism about certain things, or at least, confirmation bias. Well, not confirmation bias, but trust but verify is the minimum level I think about it anyway. But let's get to those calls here. We got Joe on the east side here with us right now. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Hi there, Andrew. You have an excellent show. I really enjoy it.
Sure thing.
I would like to compliment both Barbara and Andrew on their comments and their thoughts. They have very good ones. I would like to ask Raul. Raul, are you Hispanic? Are you Democrat? Blue collar Catholic? Are you a veteran and have you served? Or are you a conscientious objector and scared of war? And are you able to, or do you agree with protecting my freedom? You are fossilized, Raul, in your opinions, but otherwise, you are a thick-skinned moron and so annoying. I would like to have you enjoy your moment of glory on El Paso Talk, and that's my opinion of you, Raul. So see you later. Thank you.
Sure thing. Thank you for the point in the call here. I mean, okay, the idea of conscientious objectors of either you're willing to serve or you're a coward, I think leaves some gray area looked over here because, again, we have a lot of people in this country, according to recent opinion polls, that would fall on one side of the far other part of it here. But it's also, I figure it kind of goes to the idea that it's wrong to be scared. I mean, it's wrong to be, if you're brave, it means that you have banished all fear. You can never be scared. Often I find the idea of bravery is overcoming the fear and not denying its existence entirely, because it exists within all of us. I feel that that is something undeniable to be said about the nature of human existence. So it's both possible to be terrified of war. I mean, if anyone thinks that, oh, war is going to be so great, it's going to be such an adventure, that's delusion of the highest order, or just complete ignorance. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and just call it complete ignorance, or even just naivete, because the idea that, yes, we will have war, it'll be great, it'll be so much fun, is overlooking the horrors, particularly in this modern era. To quote someone else, you will see man-made horrors beyond your comprehension. We live in that era. I hate to tell you. We have got some, I mean, the way the thermal barracks that I've seen the videos of being used, among other things, I mean, ever since the advent of the nuclear bomb, I feel like we've been getting worse and worse when it comes to weapons technology and the harm we're able to commit upon other fellow human beings. So I find it completely reasonable to both say that war is awful and should be avoided at all costs, and that if someone is seeking to harm us, we must do what we can in order to prevent that. I feel like these are, it may seem diametrically opposed, but they live simultaneously in my head, because that's why I very much like the idea of speak softly and carry a big stick. Maybe a slightly outdated analogy or ideology, but still the idea of don't start none, won't be none, I guess a more modern way to put it. But you also got to be prepared for there to be some in this day and age. With the increasing global instability here, I mean, it keeps coming and it keeps coming. And to just say, well, I hope it works out, is foolish at best as a national policy, or any level of policy, local, state, whatever have you, even within just your own family unit. Saying, well, I hope it gets better and we'll just wait for that to happen, as opposed to, well, let's deal with what may come, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. I guess the way I really do live in my own life, or as to put it as the Boy Scouts do, that I still very much think to, be prepared. Because that's about the only thing that is constant in this life, that things are going to come at you that you're not going to expect. So having a basic level is probably more useful than not here. So again, you're entitled to your opinion about other callers and their ideas here. You sometimes get chided, or more than, to say we should stop the name calling, but I find that to be a useless exercise. But the way we actually look at the commentary, how we address issues and we tackle them, I find to be the more important point for the long term here. So again, thank you for the point in the call. Getting to more calls on the line here. We do have Harry on the east side here with us right now. Harry, thanks for joining us.
Yes, hello El Paso, and happy Open Line Friday.
Absolutely there.
I hope you're on the air for a long time, Andrew. I really do. Let me preface before I make my comments. I'm 85. I'm probably the oldest listener going, and I got a touch of Alzheimer. I have to write down everything I'm going to say, so I don't want to bore the folks. And you don't have to have pity on me, because Barbara, Rahul, Andrew, and Beto are getting all the credit right now.
Okay.
So anyway, here's what I like to say today. We got a guy in charge walking around that thinks he's FDR conducting a war that he was greatly responsible for letting it start. Okay. And note, it's something you can't buy your way out of. Okay. And one of the happiest guys in the country today, one of the happiest individuals, should be Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter is a stand-up guy, even though he gave the Panama Canal away. He has been considered not a very good president for a very long time. But I got news for you. Move over Tchaikovsky, because Beethoven's coming home. And you know who that is going to include. Now, a little bit more on the positive side. I have a philosophy, Andrew, and the good folks. Life was not just meant to be endured. It was meant to be enjoyed as much as possible.
I agree with that.
Even as difficult as that is today. Okay. So let's enjoy ourselves and learn something this weekend. And remember, I'm on nobody's payroll. I haven't had a earned penny since 1988. But here's what we can do to learn things and get better. Saturday morning, 10 a.m., KTSM, the El Paso Radio History Show. Do that and learn something about our great city. And secondly, Harry the Horse is telling you that the Sunland Park Derby this Sunday is being conducted. And there's 8 horses in the race. And the winner is going to be in contention for the Kentucky Derby. And if you remember El Paso history, Mind That Bird about 10 years ago come out of El Paso and went to Kentucky and won the Derby. So I'm suggesting that I would give you the winner, but I want the profits for myself. And the winner is the most impressive horse will not win the race, and I'm not going to tell you who's going to win. So those are my comments.
Oh, sure. I mean, good points there, and I definitely agree. And some chiming in here, Barbara saying, great comment, don't endure life, enjoy it. I think that a lot of people do forget that. It's real easy to get deep in the weeds, particularly, I will admit, with a show like this, but it's also important to go outside and remember there is a wider world sometimes, because even though we talk a lot about very serious subjects and we try to take them seriously as much as we can, it is important to remember that not everything is on fire all the time. You have to, frankly, take care of yourself in the middle of dealing with all this, because if you don't, you're just going to be at the whims, adrift on the sea of emotions that comes from all of this. So coming from a standpoint of, frankly, it's a healthy way to just think about it, that not everything is awful. We are not currently being shelled by the Russians. Let's look at it that way. And I will be thankful for that every day, that remains true, and deal with it if it becomes untrue, and hopefully we'll never end up in that situation. So yeah, there's plenty to be thankful of, and I think it's important to be thankful, not even just on the days that we call those days of Thanksgiving as we do, but every day, to think that we do have, I still firmly agree, the greatest, one of the, if not the greatest country in the history of the world. And before talking about the issues, to then keep it that way is definitely important here. So thank you for that point in the call. Do appreciate it here. Let's squeeze in one more before we hit that next break here. We do have Frankie and Messia here on the line with us. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
Woohoo! I'm on. Way to go. All right. What I want to chime in here, and I want to classify this as pigeonhole this, if you will, eating your own. Okay?
Okay.
Now you've got this conservative nut job in Alabama by the name of Mo Brooks. He's a representative, okay? Well, that's a sad state of affairs. But he was supported by the Donnie Dotar doofus, the guy with the yellow cotton candy for hair. All of a sudden, the Donnie Dotar doofus is on his case. You're no more. I hate you. I don't like you. And guess what happened with Mo Brooks? He comes down now and he's beating up on the Donnie Dotar doofus. He's making all kinds of nasty comments about it. This is so stupid. This is the typical attitude of conservatives. They got to eat their own, for crying out loud. What is this mush? What do you think of that?
I think that is a fluke in this because, okay, even if the old order of things haven't been the 11th commandment as it was put during the Reagan era, that conservatives will never disparage other conservatives, essentially, has come down to in the more modern era has been, again, the question we've asked on this program and on its own, is it possible to consider yourself a national Republican anyway and not be a Trump supporter or be not considered a Republican? I mean, we've had some people comment on this show here. I think the real situation here is that there's more than a few people, I think, nationally, again, talking nationally overall, in elected office who may have otherwise seen political expediency from supporting the presidency and campaigning before that of the Trump administration and see that this is something that they could ride on. Because, I mean, it's hard to deny the amount of support, votes, and donations that came along with such a thing. I mean, you can look at some of the success that has been seen by other politicians, even regionally. Maybe not totally locally, but a lot of people relying, even after having been a presidency that was not put into its next term of office, still relying on that kind of a thing here. So I think certain politicians take it on their peril when they go against the prevailing winds within their own party. And I mean, I think both in that case have reaped what they've sown when it comes to those statements and comments here. But so I wouldn't say this is necessarily a totally exactly characteristically conservative thing. Again, if anything, it's uncharacteristically conservative, just given the way it's previously worked, and even again within the lead up to the and in the actual last administration, how it worked.
Let me make a quick comment. If Ronnie Reagan was still alive today, he would have never, ever made it through the primary. That poor guy would have been just shuffled off to the Neverland because these modern conservatives are so far off the wall, they can't see the dark from the light. That's what I want to say. This is insane.
Oop. I think we lost you there real quickly, but okay. I mean, I get what you're saying there, and I mean, yeah, the Overton window, as it's put, the way the acceptable discussion of politics has changed, it's definitely different than it was. I mean, we have seen significant changes in national talking points in the way things have gone since that era, because I mean, that's literally before my lifetime at this point. I got to be perfectly honest with you. So things have certainly changed. But, I mean, you want to talk about eating their own here. A good comment coming in, actually. The focus on Manchin and Kirsten Sinema has been decently significant within even the left-wing side of it. So I would say, much like other rats, politicians are never adverse to eating their own, particularly the young and, vulnerable here. But we got to take that next break right now. I do appreciate the point in the call, so thank you for that. But we got to take that next break right now. So if you want to call in during the show, that number to do so, again, 915-544-5876-544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso. You're on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 Morning News Update. CBS 4 on your side has learned a new COVID-19 variant has made its way to the borderland. Health authority Dr. Hector Ocaranza says the BA2 variant has been confirmed in El Paso. Meanwhile, the city is closing down its mega testing sites, the convention center, vaccination site, and an infusion center. You will now have to schedule COVID-19 tests online at the city's smaller sites. However, vaccinations do not require an appointment. And El Paso County has millions of dollars in federal funds that it wants to distribute to organizations that serve the region. But first, county commissioners want to hear from you. The county is holding several listening sessions to find out what the public wants funded. The county has nearly $10 million from the American Rescue Plan Act to distribute to nonprofits. Now, we have everything you need to know on our website at cbs4local.com.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Well, we're up to our second rollover of the afternoon, and we're not even done with Friday yet. All freeway lanes on the Border Highway eastbound after Stanton Street are closed due to a vehicle rollover. That's the Border Highway eastbound after Stanton Street downtown near Delta Drive. Expect delays there. Another overturned vehicle still blocking the left lane, North Desert Boulevard at Trans Mountain. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Windy days will see a significant drop in our daytime highs by Thursday afternoon. Expect windy conditions tonight with temperatures ranging from the mid-30s to the lower 40s by tomorrow morning. Coming up tonight, we'll talk about cooler weather headed our way. Plus, I'm tracking another pattern change and if that brings calmer weather for the weekend. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kira Miner.
This report is sponsored by Mako.
The uh-ohs are out there. Scratches, dents, unexpected natural events. But with Mako and their magic, your car is no longer tragic. So when life throws you uh-ohs, just say, better get Mako, and go to Mako.com to book your appointment today.
Mass Mutual knows that your finances can be an uncomfortable conversation.
Mark, we should really talk about our money.
Yep, we really should.
Like we never talk about our savings.
No, we never talk about that. Or our assets.
Or our debt.
Yeah, we really should talk about our debt.
We need one of those financial plans.
One of those will make a difference.
We should talk about it.
We really should.
Talk to us about financial wellness today. Feel comfortable about tomorrow. Mass Mutual. Live.
It's Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and it's important that people 45 and older get screened. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cancer killer, but it can be prevented with regular screenings. Few people like getting colorectal cancer screenings, but it's important to talk with your doctor about it because people have put off screenings during the COVID-19 pandemic. The need for men and women to get screened is especially critical now. New recommendations call for colorectal cancer screenings to start at age 45. Visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more.
Hey guys, it's Edge Martinez. My family's gathering in the kitchen. It's our favorite place to catch up. Keep germs out. I use Lysol on countertops, tables, and the fridge handle. Nothing kills more viruses on more surfaces than Lysol disinfectant spray. Lysol, what it takes to protect. Use as directed.
Are you a safe driver? Are you looking to save money? With DriveWise from Allstate, the safer you drive, the more you can save. At Allstate, better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today. This report is sponsored by Allstate.
Traffic's bad enough without Mother Nature adding to your headache. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I talk about those not because we want to ignore or otherwise happy to be, sitting back, relaxing, if you can, with this kind of subject matter sometimes, but otherwise enjoying. Let's go with enjoying. I mean, I enjoy the show. If you do too, let us know. Because we are taking those comments and calls throughout the program. So even if you're not commenting over on the social medias, Barbara Carrasco, Ion Graham, RJ, Calvin Williams, Raul Amaya, and more, Andrew Zignorant, Miguelino Salazar, Louis Pinado a little bit earlier, or you can also call in. That number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM is the number to call there. And we got a few on the line here right now. So let's dive right back into those as we got some discussion about lakes going on. Can't really deal with those during the program, but the Skeptic Squad takes on its own tenor and timbre during the conversation happening on the show over there. But right now we do have a Dave on the far east side here with us right now. Dave, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, how you doing today?
No, doing all right there, Dave. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to touch on what you think on that whole. It's real popular right now. The men identifying as women in sports and that aspect of it. I think that's a really touchy subject because, as far as being gay, I'm totally open to if you're gay, you do what you do, and everybody else does what they do. But when you go, everyone also talks about the science, and we all know men are stronger than women. And there may be people that scream that's opposite, but you can go to any gym right now in El Paso and pick out a guy and a girl. I guarantee you the guy can pick up more than a girl. Maybe an occasion it might be equal or more, but the 99%, it's the opposite. So it's a very slippery slope. So to put in perspective, what if our commander-in-chief decided to come out to the podium tomorrow in a dress and said, I identify as a woman? He's the first woman president. And how confusing would that be, where he was a man the day before, and now he's a woman. He stole the thunder of all these women trying to get to that position. It just gets very complicated.
Complicated is the mild way to put it here. I mean, that's a whole nother show, I will say here. But in general, I guess the way that I look at it is when you start making, hard and fast definitions of, exactly, okay, this will be allowed and this will not be allowed. I mean, there are outliers even within the cisgendered, particularly female sports is the real focus when it comes to all of this. The swimmer issue is what's come into real focus within this past week here. And I know that there are questions about, okay, is this reasonable? Is this right? Having known the people that I have known that have come out as trans and been dealing with that issue in their own life, most are not wanting any focus on that. They just want to go about living their lives. And I have no problem with those people in doing so, and find the challenges to them trying to just go about their lives and not have, live in their own liberty. I find the challenges to that more problematic than that. But specifically on sports, as you asked about it, I guess the part that I find the most troubling beyond the idea of protecting women's sports, though it is interesting that there's not much talk about it the other way around of transgender men entering men's sports here, is the idea that even within these categories, if we're going to go out and define it as certain things about, okay, there are certain limits like testosterone limits or body size or things like that, you are literally then going to be excluding people who were born, identify, and have lived as women throughout all of it. So I mean, previously it had been talked about as this is a solution waiting for the problem to happen with it, but that has been increasingly creeping up in the way it comes out.
I see it also is there's been, I think, a couple, maybe I'm wrong, a couple or maybe 3 or 4 in modern sports in the NBA, NFL that came out as gay, but they stay in the NFL and the NBA. They don't jump to the other side because obviously, like I said, it'd be a domination as far as the strength. I'm not saying athletic ability. Many female have athletic ability. It's the strength that I think it's the issue.
Sure, but even within that category, I guess the way I see it, since you're asking, is that I mean, there are people who are outliers in all categories. People are above average or less average. I do recall it's somewhat close to the issue here, an old South Park episode. I mean, they've done a more recent one specifically on this issue, but I recall one where previously one of the young people described in that was saying that, oh, you know what, I'm going to go and enter the Special Olympics, actually, in that case. And since they're all just so weak and I'll just be able to dominate all of it, just being a normal person as they were thinking about it. And then got pretty well creamed as part of it, because you're dealing with, particularly in the realm of sports and athletes, particularly at elite athlete levels. I mean, that is almost, if you ever really talked with someone who goes into it and has that as their lifestyle, because make no mistake, it is a lifestyle to be an elite athlete. I mean, the training that you have to do your entire life to be able to be at that level, and how even small setbacks can put you completely off the game. Yeah, no regular everyday experienced person just living your life, going to your job kind of thing, that isn't solely, and I do mean solely, dedicated to the pursuit of that sport, you're gonna have a bad time. And that was the kind of message of that episode here. But I guess
but that's funny you bring that South Park up, because my friends and I were talking about how the heck does South Park dodge all this cancel culture, because those guys were something else as far as what the wrong things to say, and that was the old times where we laughed it off. It wasn't like genuine hate to anybody or dislike. It was just entertainment. Everyone were adults, and we knew entertainment from reality. So that's kind of crazy on that part.
No, that is interesting. Your point you bring up there, and they actually did talk about it even within their own episodes a bit. There was one involving the. If I to not get canceled here ourselves here in the process of it, talking about the whole Bomb Muhammad cartoon that was getting people in at least parts of Europe and Middle East killed there for a bit, and the idea of that being shown on like The Simpsons or something, some cartoon show within their own cartoon universe, and therefore, well, you can't talk about that. And they came out and made it pretty clear. Listen, either everything's on the table to be made fun of, or nothing is, because if you're not talking about that kind of accessibility,
look at the current situation now. The Russian government still has an account on Twitter, I believe, and the Ayatollah, everybody. But we got officials here in the U.S. that are out, so that says it all right there. It's either one way or no way.
I fully agree with you on that, because honestly, when it comes down to it, when in doubt, err on the side of liberty and freedom is the way I definitely, a lot of my decisions end up coming down to. So particularly when you're talking about controlling things, restricting things, if it's in conflict with that, I take a very dim view of it at best, in my personal life anyway.
Well, I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but it is Friday, so everybody have a good weekend.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I call this airstrike on myself, if you want to think about it that way, because I could say that, no, these subjects are off limits, but then I find myself in conjunction against, South Park on my own here. So I just couldn't live that way. So thank you for the point in the call. I do appreciate it here. I mean, there are thorny subjects out there, and there are some things that I don't want to touch with insert length of pole here, and I'll probably want to add a good 10 feet to it just to make sure we got it far away from me as possible. But again, as I profess to be at least thinking about reality, we got subjects we got to deal with here. So let's get to one more call before we hit that last break here. We do have Ben on the east side here with us. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, two things, man. Andrew, one of the things I'd like to say is that there's a philosopher by the name of Voltaire, came out and he said, if they can make you believe absurdities, then they can make you commit atrocities. Kind of room for thought. The other thing I wanted to make a point of, in all the podcasts I've listened to, all the, your program and everything, and nobody has come up and said something about the consequences of what is happening with the Biden administration, and not only them, but just government in general. The consequences of having people, the other night I was looking at the TV, and people are in lines, huge lines, lining up at the food bank now. I mean, these people are being hurt by these policies. They're not, and it's a matter that our government really doesn't care. All they care about is whether or not, they can pass laws that don't really make a whole lot of difference. And they discuss a whole lot of things, a lot of theater that they go through. But anything that really impacts the people, I mean, those people in the food bank lines, they were people that probably didn't have a big problem until the things that are happening now. I mean, there are consequences to what these people are doing, and you need to call your congressman. Not that you'll ever hear to speak to a congressman, because they never speak to you, and they never have just leave a message. But at least call them, leave a message, say you want things changed. People are hurting.
Oh, absolutely.
And it breaks my heart.
I mean, yeah, okay, we may get a little jocular sometimes on the subjects that we discuss in this show, because I enjoy getting into it. But I mean, yeah, that's the reality behind most of the things that we discuss here, is that, yeah, reality is waiting behind all of these decisions that we made. And oftentimes it can come at you real fast. And the issues and the problems that people can experience with this, I mean, none of this is happening in a vacuum. All of this is real life happening right now. And so to ignore that, yeah, we definitely ignore the impacts that come with it. Again, the whole law of unintended consequences. Well, we didn't realize this would happen. But further to your point about talking with your, elected officials of all levels, I mean, Congress is a good one to start with and a good person to point to. But I mean, at all levels, I fully and always encourage people to get involved, get contact, and talk with them. Though I will say, even though some of the subjects get a lot of hate coming from that particular caller, the idea of those with more money seem to have their problems dealt with a little bit faster. I mean, I'm hard pressed to say that's not true in this country, because it often ends up happening that if someone with funding comes up and says this is an issue that needs to be dealt with, it tends to happen a little bit faster. And I think that is a fundamental issue with the way our country works at this point. Now, how to address it, that is where the serious divergence of political opinions comes from. But beyond that, I think more people being involved, more people paying attention. I think more people are, though they may not realize what they're really paying attention to. They might think, oh, man, things are so bad. What can we do? Why don't they fix it? And now realizing, coming down to, I mean, it may sound a little bit cynical, but no one is coming to our rescue. We have to fix it ourselves is what it really comes down to for me. So anyone really thinking about these issues and the way that you're talking about them, I fully encourage them to think about it, think about what's going on, think about who they are voting for, who they're dealing with, if they're happy with that, and then what they can do to get involved in the process. Because, yeah, not everything is totally politically based, but if we're looking for a lot of solutions nationally, it quickly comes to that. I will fully agree.
All the money that is being spent on people coming across the border, refugees, everything, all that money could be spent on American people that are hurting just as bad as these people, and will probably be hurting, worse than some of these people, because these people are coming across and they're getting handouts and everything. But the American people, the ones that should be counting, are being ignored. And I've never heard of any of our leaders saying anything about going down and putting time in a food bank or giving money to a food bank or any kind of thing. And I challenge everybody that is listening to this to think about donating to the food bank in El Paso Feeding Hunger. These people are hurting.
Absolutely. I'll fully agree with you there. I mean, we've had them on this program, talked with them about their efforts, partnered with them on certain promotions of themselves and what they got going on there. And that's personally where I do my charity. I'll be perfectly honest and clear with that. When I do donations, when I ask people to, like, hey, in lieu of a gift, it's usually ending up being the food banks, particularly over these last couple of years, because, yeah, this situation has been even in our community. I mean, a lot of these issues, there's part of the reason, I'll just use this as my soapbox for the moment here. The whole reason we focus on what we do Monday through Thursday anyway, on El Paso and our issues, that a lot of these things can seem insurmountable. They can seem like, what are we even going to do? It exists so nationally. It exists such a problem. How do we even start here? But when we look at it at the local level, it starts seeming, well, a little bit more manageable anyway, and a little bit more to be able to get into it and get into what can we do to help even just our friends and neighbors. And so it's part of why we focus on what we do. So, yes, fully encourage people to donate to the food bank, El Pasoans Fighting Hunger.org, the website there. Tell you what, we got to take that next break right now. So thank you for the point in the call. I'll come back, also give out that phone number in case anyone wants to. But otherwise, we'll go back, close out the show, talk about what we got coming up for you in future weeks here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. We'll get into it and close out the week here. See you in a minute.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On the border highway eastbound, all lanes are closed due to a semi-rollover. That's right after Stanton Street and before Delta Drive on Loop 375 border highway eastbound lanes. Got a large backup right now to Spur 1966, North Desert Boulevard at Trans Mountain, an overturned semi-truck from earlier this afternoon, still blocking a lane, the left lane. Another crash, Edgemere Boulevard, westbound at Sierra Este. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies.
Dell's semi-annual sale for business has arrived. Enjoy specials on Dell Talks, monitors, and servers, plus up to 45% off the latest Dell PCs with Windows 11 Pro, and get an easy start to your workday. Call 877-ASK-DELL to speak with a Dell Technologies advisor. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
The True Crime Podcast, What Happened to Sandy Beale, investigates the alarming death of a young woman who dreamed of a career in law enforcement. Journalist Melissa Jeltsin untangles the mystery at the heart of the investigation, revealing a troubling pattern by officials close to the case.
I didn't take any of that crap.
because I could tell that they were hiding something.
Listen to What Happened to Sandy Beale on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Anyone can get long COVID, even Caitlin, age 20.
I got COVID in November 2020. In January, I started having long-term problems. I was a varsity soccer player in high school, and now I get winded just from walking. I can't remember things. It's just unbearable.
Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the best way to prevent long COVID. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
At the United States Postal Service, we deliver packages fast and affordably, so you can give your customers what they want when they need it. We're delivering for one-stop shops, mom and pops, pop-ups, startups, retail, wholesale, large scale, small biz, big box, customers, customizers. So no matter what business you're in, we'll always be delivering for you. USPS, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/delivering.
This is the story of a very special woman. Just a few knew about her superpowers. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. We got to leave it there for the week as we are out of time here for this program. So we'll leave it on a little bit of a lighter note here because, as has been mentioned by some, there was a, well, more unusual than usual. Is that the right way to say that? Weird. Let's go with my phrase, weird call yesterday that was mentioned here. So in, well, just kind of, I guess, fitting with that, we had one of those pound 250 calls, bringing that up here, and I'll just let it sit on its own here.
Yota, I call because Force was with you yesterday. Someone call in and say they migrant, but sound like they from Arkansas. Strange, I say. 2 years, listen good. One mouth, speak only little. Have a good day.
Okay, usually we don't allow impersonations on the program, but I decided to let that one slide because I found the point to be interesting there. Yeah, we had a very strange call come in yesterday that we ended up ending because... it didn't pass the smell test once we were getting into it, which is why I asked the questions I did. And, we made the decision we did with that call there. So, again, just usually you can call in as yourself here. I get the theming, I guess, with that potential call here. But, and at least one person emailed me saying that my facial expressions were gold at that point. Part of the benefit you get from watching over on social media, I guess, here. But that'll do it here for us this week. I want to thank everyone who did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. For better or for worse, y'all make the show what it is by doing so. As it is, we'll talk with y'all next week. More coming up for you. More interviews, more subjects, more talk about the issues affecting us here in the borderland. We'll see y'all next week. Stay safe out there. Look twice for more segments on the road. And turn to the El Paso History Radio Show, 10 a.m. tomorrow. See you then.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On the border highway eastbound, all lanes are closed due to a semi-rollover. That's right after Stanton Street and before Delta Drive on Loop 375, border highway eastbound lanes. Got a large backup right now to Spur 1966, North Desert Boulevard at Trans Mountain, an overturned semi-truck from earlier this afternoon, still blocking a lane, the left lane. Another crash, Edgemere Boulevard, westbound at Tierra Este. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Beautiful, top-quality, long-lasting dental implants as low as $19.95 at 1995implants.com. The El Paso Dental Office, where implants are affordable. Other places charge $3, $4, $5.